Hello everybody out there, and welcome to another episode of the Talk That Talk Show with me, Barry Holmes. We're here for our 108th episode here of the Talk That Talk Show. Just when you thought we were coming to a close, we keep coming at you with another episode here. Had a great week, had a great day. I'm so happy to get here on the mic here and talk with you all. Shout out to my boy Shawnee Mack, who's on our Instagram live stream. Shout out to Hawks. I know he's happy to celebrate a big win over my Knicks. So, shout out to you and also to Theo. We'll get into that a little bit later on in the episode. Shout out to Brianne Pearson on our Instagram live stream, and then Rob Brantley Jr. on our Facebook live stream. But we've had a lot of things that have happened over the face of sports, street culture. There's been a lot of drops that's happened. It's been a really exciting week, and I've just been really happy to be a part of it and share to y'all a lot of the stuff that's been going on throughout the week. But again, starting it off, it was definitely a tough way to go out. But I did get a chance to see Game 5. I did get a chance to see Game 2. Shout out to my boy John Deaconin for hooking it up for my father for his tickets.
Thank you.
But like I said, anybody that has negative things to say about the Knicks, I guess they're warranted. I was duped like everybody else, thinking that Julius Randle could really pull us through. But all in all, it just, how could I say, just pointed out a glaring issue that the New York Knicks just need some help around Julius Randle. And, the role players that we have, we got a lot of decisions moving forward with those guys that are on one-year contracts, like, Nerlens Noel, Alex Burks, Elfrid Payton. A lot of these guys that were, cogs for at some point in part of the season are now going to become free agents on the market. And now it becomes, with all this work that the Knicks have put in, will it truly become a free agency landing destination spot? And I just truly hope that people, like Julius Randle, don't get content with the success that he had this season and can just build on it moving forward. And, I can't be happier with the job that Tom Thibodeau did. To think that we had that team and made it a 4th seed. Was I disappointed? Yes. But, to be there in Madison Square Garden and to see the Knicks, get their first win in almost a decade in the playoffs, it was definitely worth it. And again, to stand up at the end of that Game 5, even when they had lost, and to show my appreciation for the hard work that they had put in, that's what being a fan's all about. So, Knicks fans out there, it's okay that we're out. Some of my friends have made some jokes that we're all out at Cancun right now and we went fishing, but it's all right. We'll be back next season. I'm proud of the way this Knicks team did, and every other Knicks fan out there, you should be proud of them too. But the Knicks aren't exactly the only team that's out of the playoffs here that we've seen. And, surprisingly, it seems that, LeBron James was the next to go out of the first round. Shout out to my Uncle Mickey here who says, "What's up, Barry?" Shout out to Ishabad Crane on our Instagram live stream. But, I personally was one of the people that said, it wasn't going to be easy for the Phoenix Suns to come out here and beat the Lakers. But yet again, it's funny. Charles Barkley made a funny joke about Anthony Davis, and he said that his new nickname should be Street Clothes, because at the end of the day, all he's always wearing is street clothes. And it seems like just another Charles Barkley type joke. But if you think about it, this Laker team might not have even won in the bubble had it not been for the heroics of Anthony Davis and that last second shot buzzer beater. Anthony Davis has proven that when he is healthy, he is an absolute monster and a tough handful. Pause. But, the thing that happens is that when Anthony Davis goes down, now your issues start to glare out. And almost what happened with the Knicks, where, when you have that key player like Julius Randle who hasn't been doing up to his regular standard, now you got to really pull on the role players around you. And what we saw was that maybe that Lakers role team wasn't as good as we thought they were. And, I think that, unfairly, a lot of people are holding this against LeBron and saying that, this is going to hurt his his dynasty or he's going to hurt his like legacy or whatever. I don't think that's true, because if you been in the season for, I don't know, 18, 19 years and you've only been out of the first round playoffs once, that's that's a pretty good ratio, you know what I'm saying? And I think even Michael Jordan was out in the first round one time. So, interestingly enough, it's more common than you would think for a lot of our high caliber, Hall of Fame players. I mean, even Kobe Bryant lost in the first round. So, I think that a lot of people are harping on this, and it's like one of those things where, if you're constantly at the top, or you're constantly, where people are looking up to you and you're this embodiment of success, it's kind of hard not to see how people will want you to fall. And, it's one of those things where you have to see it like, and understand that maybe not everyone else out there sees things the way that you do. And, that's how we kind of have seen it here with the LeBron James issue, because it seems like at every inkling or any type of speed bump in LeBron's career, people are really quick to throw the Michael Jordan conversation in there or downplay LeBron's success. But, ultimately, I don't really know too much more people on that list besides maybe a Kevin Durant when healthy that are, more dominant in the game of basketball. And, we could say Luka's nice, and you can say, oh, Dame Dolla's nice, but, ultimately we're talking about championship getters and franchise guys that have proven success. Not can they do it, but have proven that they can do it. And LeBron James and Kevin Durant, they're pretty much in a conversation of their own. And when you are on that high platform or you're on that pedestal, it's going to be so easy for people to try and knock you down at that latest speed hump. So, do I think, and I was asked this before, do I think this is the last time that we're going to see LeBron James in the finals? And I think that's absolutely false. Just because you have one bad season, let's not even say that Lakers season was bad, because ultimately they never really had a healthy team, but over 10, 15 games. So, I don't think that this season is a true litmus test, but what we have seen is that people are trying to say that and attack LeBron's character, saying that, oh, he walked off the court and he didn't want to stay like the rest of his teammates, couldn't stand the embarrassment like everybody else. And I can understand if Frank Vogel says, hey, this guy's got to get some treatment, it's all right. But, when you leave your teammates almost out there to dry when you're getting waxed like that, some people are going to question whether, you can handle it. And it's funny, they say you always have to be just as good of a loser as a winner. And, I think LeBron saved face by giving the jersey to Devin Booker at the end. But, we also have to remember, the actions that we have very surface level reactions from many people. And ultimately, when you put yourself out there, when you sign on the dotted lines, and you take and accept that millions of dollars, you also accept the millions of different perspectives and personalities, just like myself, that are going to have something to say about everything that you do. So, LeBron James, ultimately, he's going to be all right. I think he's going to definitely make his way back to the finals at some point. But, it's just so quick. And it's not even just with LeBron. But, again, you can even say with the Knicks, too, where, even the Knicks have been eliminated for so long. And you still have some people that are still posting memes and, still cracking jokes. And I accept that as a Knicks fan. That's what it's all about, especially, taking the good with the bad. But, it really speaks to just how much relevance the Knicks have when they're winning, when people really want to beat you when you're down. So it's a positive move in the right direction for this Knicks team. Even with our boy LeBron, who has also been out of the first round, I don't think that that's going to jade or jeopardize his legacy, and he'll definitely be back in the playoffs sooner than later, I think. And, ultimately, when you talk about that and when you put aside the Knicks failure, which is something that everybody wants to talk about, when you put aside LeBron James being out the first time all in his career in the first round, the next question, it's so funny that NJ Jet Life had just joined on our Instagram Live, because, the next team up, or that you would say that potentially has the best chance of winning the chip, how can you not go with the Brooklyn Nets, man? You got Kyrie Irving, who can drop 40 at any time. You got James Harden, who's made the ultimate sacrifice to being a full-time facilitator and really dictating that Brooklyn Nets offense. And then obviously you have a healthy Kevin Durant, which I truly hope, because I think that a healthy Brooklyn Nets team is a very exciting team to watch. And ultimately, with the Knicks out, you got to go with the other New York team. And I'm gonna rep all day New York, so I'm gonna be rooting for these Brooklyn Nets. And it's kind of hard to see them not coming out of the East. I don't really seem bothered by Atlanta or the 76ers. Hawks says, Internet 2021, everyone wants to make memes and trash on everyone. That's true, bro. It's so instantaneous, too. It's like, if you really want to get to somebody, all you got to do is get at them just like that with a click of the fingers. But like I said, I'm not really too interested or not too worried about Atlanta or the 76ers potentially being the Brooklyn Nets. But I think out of the two, when it comes down to who would have the better chance of beating, a Brooklyn Nets team, I think it's a crapshoot, because you could easily go in the decision of the Atlanta Hawks and saying that, hey, they can score. They showed against this Knicks team that they can score in bunches. They showed that they can shoot the three well. And Trae Young he had Steve Nash at the beginning of the year frustrated, saying, this isn't basketball. I know you remember that, Jeff. But again, the thing that kind of worries me is that when you look on the opposite end of the spectrum, even a struggling Knicks team that struggled to score still scored pretty, not easily, but, at certain times it was easy. And I think that when you put that and factor that into a team like Brooklyn, which is way, way more offensively advanced than the Knicks, then, defensively, that's where I'm worried about the Atlanta Hawks, because even Theo said their defense is mid, and, I agree with that. But when you come down to the 76ers, you talk about the star power. You have a Joel Embiid that can beat you up inside. You have a Ben Simmons that can play defense, run the floor. Tobias Harris is a stretch. He's been very physical. And then, you add in there Seth Curry and, man, you think potentially about an Eastern Conference Finals team. But I just think that, with the things that have happened with Joel Embiid with the torn meniscus, considering, how emotional Joel Embiid has taken things, and even going back to the series with Kawhi Leonard, it's tough to really even say which team is going to do it, because each has their own different things that you can really be a little bit like, whoa, I don't know if I want to pick them. You go against 76ers, who haven't really had any type of consistent success since Allen Iverson, talking postseason-wise. And then you talk about Atlanta Hawks franchise team, which is very young and very dangerous. So I think that that's going to be a great series, but ultimately both of those teams do not have enough in the tank to take out that Brooklyn Nets team. And then if you want to go out west, okay, let's talk about the Nuggets. You can talk about the Mavs. You can talk about pretty much any one of those teams. I just don't see, maybe the Jazz, but the Jazz are very dominant, Mitchell dependent. And sometimes what we've seen in the playoffs, if you don't have that second, third, fourth scoring option consistently, then you're going to have a problem. And that's one of the few things that worries me, like, especially with that Jazz. Michael Conley is a great guard, but sometimes he can shoot you out of it. Then you talk about a Denver team that doesn't have Jamal Murray, so they obviously don't have that same right hook that they might normally have. It's just hard for me to see any other team or to see any other team that bothers me that says, hey, this team's going to take out Brooklyn. I just don't see it. And Jeff says that the Bucks are going to be the toughest challenge, and I think that is true, because somebody has to check to see if Dante DiVincenzo came back from injury, but I covered him over at Villanova in the the Big East tournament games, and interviewed him in person, and you could tell, like, even when he's had and the day that I interviewed him, during that game, he didn't have maybe his best statistical game, but there was key points down the stretch of that Big East final game where he came out and won it for him. And I think that, with the Bucks, they have guys like Dante DiVincenzo that kind of embody that culture in Milwaukee of just tough, grind-nosed players, man. Jeffrey says he's out for the playoffs, so yeah, that's going to be tough for Milwaukee because I see him really as one of those perimeter defenders along with Drew Holiday that can really maybe give Kyrie Irving a strong physical body to play defense on. And I don't see Giannis Antetokounmpo stopping Kevin Durant. So, I was going to say that DiVincenzo was going to be that key factor in that Milwaukee series if he can somewhat stop that perimeter attack, because what you see with the Nets and what makes them so versed is once they get to that second level, once Kyrie's getting past your first defender, he's dishing it off to these open players, just like an Atlanta Hawks team is. But Atlanta, at the same time, doesn't have a Kevin Durant on the wing. They don't have a James Harden shooting that floater. That's a Trae Young for Atlanta. But when you have three bona fide guys that can drop 40, like Jeff said, I mean, you don't really need much else. And those role players with Brooklyn have understood their role, and they've understood what is needed from them to get the victory, man. And, ultimately, like I said, it's going to be a fun playoffs. I wasn't going to be watching the playoffs anymore because, my Knicks being out. And it's kind of hard not want to watch basketball when your team loses because, I take these games serious. I put my hard-earned money to go watch that team too. And, it hurts, when your team loses. But I'll definitely be back to watching some playoff games. And I'm going for the Brooklyn Nets, so I'm sure Jeffrey's glad to hear that. Brianne Pearson says if Joel Embiid can be a floppy flopper all the time, stay healthy, we'll be good. I love that, Brianne. Shout out to my boy Dave stoling this on our Facebook live stream. But I don't know, for some people that were wondering what hat is that Barry has on here, this is actually a Sugar Shack hat from Hat Club. Shout out to Doc, who was able to hook me up. I missed the online drop, but luckily I have some good friends out there that care about me deeply and want to see me with the drops. But I was so hyped to be able to go to Hat Club today with my boy Savion Gator. Shout out to Say. It's crazy because a lot of times, it's a little hit or miss whether when you go to the Hat Club, whether they're going to have what you want or if you can, luck out and get one of the drops when they're happening. But, it was funny because I'd made the appointment maybe like weeks ago. I think it was like early May. And, I was like, the last maybe time that I went, I was like, I don't know if, Hat Club's going to have it for me. I was getting my ass kicked on the online drops by the bots. But it was tough, man. And to be able to go there today. And last night I was sleeping and Say had sent me a text message. He's like, yo, check Hat Club NoHo. And sure enough, I checked Hat Club NoHo, and they said that they were going to have the bean pot drop, and me and Say were going to be there for the drop. And, I was so hyped because, like I said, the bots were kicking our ass. But, to be able to go out there and be a part of that culture, it's so dope, man. And I think that a lot of people think about it as like, oh, they're just hats or it's just that. But, I think that when you go to these exclusive drops, and you start to see some of the same people at some of the different drops, whether you're in Jersey or you're in New York, you kind of see just the passion that people have for these hats and kind of how the culture has changed from, being high in the sneaker game to where, these hats are really, really the buzz of town, and Say made fun of me because I came in there wearing a Black Ice Hat Club hat. And then I went back to the car afterwards, and I switched hats because we were hanging out outside, and I wanted to have a different hat on. And he's like, "Man, this guy's never gonna get his head out of the room after he's getting all these compliments on the hats." So it was too funny, man. I enjoyed myself out there, and the one thing that people always say when it comes to hats too is like, if it isn't Hat Club, then it's a dub, and I don't think that could be more far from the truth because I've been saying it to my father, to other hat collectors out there. There are a lot of good other hat places besides just Hat Club. And, luckily enough, I'm in Jersey and I get to see and get to have access to two really good ones here in Jersey. Shout out to ECapCity. Shout out to MyFitteds, Walk-in Closet in Patterson. You know, they really become knowing me and Say's face, but you know, I've enjoyed my time there. And Hat Club is just as good too, man. There's a lot of great places out there, and I think that you know, to quote the great Wu-Tang, you gotta diversify your bonds, right? I mean, you gotta go different places for this heat, and especially being hats. You know, I love my Mets hats, so you know, there's a lot of heat out there. But I just want to share with you guys some of the heat that I've collected throughout this past week, and each hat is going to be from one of the different 3 hat places that I really like. So one being Hat Club, one being MyFitteds, and then lastly one being ECapCity. So, you know, like I said, first and foremost, I'll start it off with Hat Club. I said this is why we came out there. Me and Say got the nice appointment to go. But this one right here was actually, it's called the Bean Pot Pack. You got the Mets hat here in gold with the white. Super, super tough. With the 2000 World Series patch and a nice gray underbrim with some white guts here. This hat was actually inspired by, I think, the colors of Boston College, and there was about a couple different other teams in the collection. And you know, I thought that this Mets hat, along with I think the Seattle Mariners that came out too, those were the 2 best hats of this collection. And I was very happy to be able to get my hands on one of these. So shout out to Hat Club for this really dope Bean Pot Collection hat. And then, when I said I had switched hats, I told y'all that I switched hats, alright? He was looking at me like, yo, you're crazy, man. You switching hats in the middle of the drop. But this one right here, I'm telling you, is one of my favorite new hats. And I'm not even an Arizona Diamondbacks fan. Don't get me wrong. I'm only wearing Mets hats. But this hat was so dope. And I hadn't seen this from anywhere else. I was like, yo, I gotta cop this, man. I gotta. Shout out to ECapCity for this one, because they absolutely killed this. This is the upside down Arizona Diamondback. This actually glows in the dark, alright? You can check my Catmaster B page on Instagram, and you'll see this glowing in the dark with the teal. I didn't even show y'all the turquoise underbrim here. Oh my gosh. With the 2001 World Series patch. Guys, this is absolutely one of my favorite hats. It was a very slept-on hat. The upside down is maybe something that we might see in some future designs with the hats, but pay attention, because I think that people are going to see the success of this hat and maybe emulate it. We know it's the hat game. Things get recycled a lot, man. And then finally, this hat right here too. Shout out to Kenny Lou over at MyFitteds. This is Zeshawn's boy. They have been killing the game as far as, you know, being the direct competitors to like Hat Club. And yo, when you see this hat, guys, you're going to be like, okay, I see the Mets hat, but look what we have around it, all right, guys? This is actually called the Mets collection along with the felt. So felt stands for every living thing. So on top of this Mets hat you have here, you got the raised butterfly, and also you have like some little, like, what do you want to call these, lilies or whatever the hell you want to call them. You got a nice little honeybee here to the right, and again another butterfly here, some more wings, and then on the back you have the white where it says felt for every living thing. And this is topped with a nice little gray bottom underneath. Yo, when I wear that blue and orange Talk That Talk Show jersey, this is going to pop so well. And especially for the spring or summertime, and you want to make it, you know, come out there and smell the fresh air after being inside for so long. Yo, this collaboration, a lot of people were saying it was a little bit off of Lord Fubu, but Lord Fubu's was huge, and I wasn't a big fan of the big butterfly taking up the whole hat. Anybody could just stitch shit onto a fucking hat, but to be able to like make a concept out of it and to have it say something like for every living thing, you know, I think that's and I actually, yo, shout out to my boy that I met over in Teaneck. We've been, you know, kind of going back and forth as far as sharing certain hat information. But we had, like, after we got our hat drop at ECapCity with Savion, you know, we stayed around and we talked a little bit, and we were talking about, wow, you know, just look at how much different, you know, the hat landscape has been as far as just the different designs and of different things that have been coming out. And I think that what we've seen now is, and the reason why I really like MyFitteds and I like places like Hat Club and also ECapCity, but they use the hats to tell a picture, and they use the hats to tell certain things about them, right? I mean, you look just with this Hat Club hat, it's inspired by the Boston College colors. You look at different things like with different patches. MyFitteds, the one thing that I really like what they've been doing, they've been taking books. So actually book covers, the front of book covers, and modeling their hats after them. I wore a hat, I think a couple episodes before with Chris Virag. I think it's called Dollar Back. But I had the Takumi hat on. It was literally a hat designed after an anime, Initial D, which is one of my favorite animes. So again, when you look at hats, and one of the things that I determine as to what is a hot hat and what's something that somebody just slapped together, I'm looking for the concept. Like even with this Mets Hat Club hat, they had the whole thing as far as making it Sugar Shack and having these crazy funky colors that you haven't really seen put together, but that work, and you gotta really look out there to all the different hat places that's out there. I mean, even Sports World, I didn't feature them today, but they got some heat as well too. And I think that even I'm sometimes guilty of this too, where I say I'm only wearing Nikes and that's it. But sometimes you gotta step out of that comfort zone and see what else is out there. And that's why I wanted to say not only just Hat Club, but those other places out there are good. Dave Stone says, I used to use Hatland.com to get stuff no one else had. True, that's a really good spot too. I think I copped a Devil snapback off there, and they got some really good heat too. But you should definitely try out either Hat Club, ECapCity, or try out MyFitteds, Dave. I think they're going to have some heat. They actually had a Fresh Prince Bel-Air hat that they did from MyFitteds that was literally, it was a Philadelphia Phillies hat that was literally modeled after the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. So it had all the funky colors from, that series. And I had to say that one sold pretty quick from my inventory. But real quick, I definitely want to talk about something else before I go into the end of this show. But one of the big things that I think that's often overlooked, and I've said this before, how we have to highlight women's sports for sure. And Naomi Osaka was somebody that was in the highlights and was in the headlines all week. And people were talking about, was she right for pulling out of the tournament? She doesn't want to talk to media. And she's citing that she has mental health issues. And there's a couple very concrete and things that need to be distinguished before you move forward to speak anything about that. Number one, the only person that knows if they have mental issues or if they're struggling through that mental struggle is Naomi Osaka. So a lot of people out there are saying, she should just tough it out. Oh, she should just get through it. You never know the weight of another man or another woman's burden, or what they have on their shoulders. Someone could be smiling at you in the face and have the roughest, toughest day in the world, and might have their own mental battles that they're going through. So I think oftentimes the narrative that, and I've also been guilty of it too as well, and I've been on this with Joel Embiid. Just earlier in this show, I called him emotional. But, sometimes we are so hard on these athletes and tell them they should just toughen it up or, just get through it. And I think that at times, a lot of these players do not prioritize their own mental health. I mean, look at some of our friends that you may have in your own life and sometimes within ourselves. How high do we truly prioritize mental health and mental awareness? And I think that that's something that Naomi Osaka kind of brings to the higher light, to the higher scale here, is that here's someone that is, for once, prioritizing their mental health. And you have people that are breaking down and busting down that it's pretty it's hard to put words to, because again, the only person that knows what their mental struggles are going on is Naomi Osaka. And I think that sometimes what people have said and what I've read also is that people are saying because she was losing her matches, because she wasn't having the Grand Slam success, that she didn't want to talk to media and that was affecting her game. And we had somebody else like Venus Williams, I think, that just came into conversation saying that media will never light a fire under. And you have different people that take various outlets to expressing themselves, right? And maybe Naomi Osaka needs to take this time to figure out how she wants to express herself or how she wants to address the media. And just because she's making millions of dollars, just because she was one of the highest ranked athletes, doesn't mean that she doesn't have personal issues or things that are going on in her life that are more significant than just playing a game of tennis. Theo says we are with her, and yeah, I'm with her too. And I'm not one of those people that thinks that she's hiding behind the shield of mental health and mental illness, because that's the card that a lot of people are pulling. But, you gotta look to, how can I say, to really look beyond the surface level of things and just see and try to have compassion, especially as someone on the other side. It's so easy to not have the compassion to see what someone else is going through. And Naomi Osaka is just another victim of that. I mean, we just talked about LeBron James, how people were breaking and battering him down just for losing a fucking playoff series. The guy has how many rings? He's played for 18 years, and I think the same thing goes along with the Naomi Osaka, who has had the success, is starting to have a little bit of frustration, and now, some things have came to light, and I think that, ultimately, I'm just proud, and I'm glad that Kyrie Irving came out and backed her as well, too, in that, hey, we gotta highlight women's sports out here, because and I've been the how could I say, I've been the victim, not the victim, but I've played part in that too. I had somebody that I dated that played college basketball. I never watched her play a game in my life. I that just wasn't my thing. And I think that with my sister, having played a collegiate sport, I started to kind of understand just the importance of, how I want my sister to be treated and how I want her to be respected in her respective sport. And I think that raises to all women's sports as well, too. So the same way that we back these athletes that get arrested and that we still buy their jerseys, Tyreek Hill, I mean, he was under so much pressure and said that he had hurt his kids and stuff, and you still have people buying his jerseys. But, let's still have people back Naomi Osaka the same way that we have other people. Hawk said, "Where did you play? Have heard you talk about it a couple of times." Yeah, I played college basketball for a couple years at York College of Pennsylvania. I didn't get maybe the playing time that maybe I wanted to, but you can never underestimate that grind and that college grind of playing a sport, and then also going to practice and being a part of that stuff. And that could be mentally taxing too. I mean, there was times where everybody else is going on spring vacation, and I wanted to go home, and I was out of state, so I can't just drive home up to Altoona like all the other Pennsylvania guys. I had to stay there, man, and that could be a little on your mind as well too. But it's mental, how can I say, the mental health and the prioritizing that is very, very important. And I think that, and I really respect Naomi Osaka for being one of those leaders within the community, right? And being the leaders of that female, how can I say, those female athletes of secondary sports. And I hate to say the word secondary, because there's no other, like when it comes to primary and secondary, that's not one of those great terms. But, soccer is one of the less popular sports. But yet, their athletes work just as hard as any other athletes. So, I hope that Naomi Osaka gets better. Take whatever time that you need to get better. And everyone else out there listening to this show, take time to prioritize your mental health, okay? If anything that we can learn from that, let's learn that from Naomi Osaka, right? And then finally, guys, it almost happened overnight. I remember being in Atlantic City and waking up, and then all of a sudden everybody had to stop wearing masks. It was crazy. But, I've been to the bowling alley where now, just the past week, me and my other teammate Walter were the only ones that had the masks on, man. And I know you can't really force it down, just like you can't force the vaccine down people's throat. You can't force people to, not mask up. And that's why, again, when I talk about prioritizing mental health, you got to prioritize your own physical health as well, too. And, luckily enough, knock on whatever, I haven't contracted COVID at any point in time. And, I've just taken the right precautions and, pretty much done the things that, I would need to do to make sure that I stay as healthy as possible. And I think that moving forward, for all my people that live in New Jersey, or for all the people that live in other states, if you are vaccinated and you feel comfortable enough without the mask, okay, that's fine. And I know that people said that, when you have this vaccine, that just means that you won't die. So, I think that, with these vaccines happening, it's giving people hope and giving us some, I guess, concrete results as far as getting back to normal, getting back to the swing of things. But, we also have to normalize the fact that everyone else also moves in their own pace. So, if you have someone out there that's wearing a mask and you're not wearing a mask, don't belittle them. Don't make fun of them because they're wearing the mask. Everybody has their own comfortability level. Dave says, now the vax is available, you got to give people's personal medical decisions back to themselves. Just my feeling, it's back to personal decisions. And that's what it ultimately is all about, Dave. Everyone has the right, the God-given right to make their own personal decisions. And, from those decisions, we can't batter down people and kind of force them to do what seems to be the thing that everybody else is doing. And, I do pray and hope for a time that, I will feel comfortable enough to being out in those places without the mask. But, for right now, even though everything is, pretty much open in Jersey and maskless, just respect the fact that I still want to wear the mask, all right? If I'm in the gym pumping some iron, don't give me crazy looks because I'm out here, benching with the mask on. I mean, it's just my choice, and everybody else should feel confident out there as well in making your choice whether you want to wear the mask or don't want to wear the mask. But, the positive thing is we are starting to move back to some sort of normalcy. So, come on, give me some jobs out here, guys. I want to get back out there, right? But, thank you so much to everybody out there that's been tuning into this Talk That Talk show. Before I close out, I want to give a special shout out to our sponsors. My boy Joe Snow and Maria over at New York Life, helping people to get their financial freedom every single day. Shout out to my boy Savion Gaynor over at Skydive Socks. Had a great time getting some hats with you today, man, and just killing the hat game. We're just going to keep pushing forward with this, man, and hopefully we can maybe make some socks to go along with some of the hats that we caught, man. Excuse me. Also want to give a big shout out to my boy Timmy Hugel over at Ink Parlor. Like I said, this guy is continuously, like I said, we got some real big things coming up. We're looking at a early July release date for the next release. If you didn't get a chance to get a shirt, but yeah, it's gonna be a good one coming up. So if you didn't get a chance to get that jersey drop, make sure you mark in that early July part of the calendar. All right, the early July part. I'm giving you a sneak peek here. And then finally, want to give a shout out to my boy Jeff Galata over at Air We Are, helping people with their heating and cooling needs. It's getting hot out there, y'all. Make sure your air conditioning works. Hit up my boy Jeff Galata over there in the South Side. No beer review, no seltzer review this week. I'm kind of taking a break here, but I promise you next week I'm going to have something really, really dope lined up for you guys to see me try, and then also for you to try yourself, hopefully, after the show. But I've said also once before, for those people out there in the different states that helped me to get to 15,000 downloads, and then everybody that watches on our Facebook and Instagram live stream, I hope so much that you continue to tune in. Please follow us on YouTube. Go to the Talk That Talk Show channel and hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get to over 100 and beyond subscribers, guys. I need y'all. Please hit that subscribe button on YouTube. We want to get this channel up and popping because I have some, let's put it this way. In the next maybe month or so, there might be some more episodes coming throughout the week, and they might not be as available as the YouTube episodes as well too. So I want you guys to think about that and think what I might have underneath the wing and what's in the production and what's maybe under there. But take advantage of the episodes you can see for free. All right, that's all that I can say. But I love you all. You know, we're here in 108 episodes. We're going to keep moving on. We're going to keep pushing forward. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube channel. Go to our website, talkthattalkshow.com. You can see a bunch of pictures of all the people in our merchandise. See what's been worn, what's hot. We got a lot coming for you guys in these next couple months and weeks, man. Summer, it's going to be a cold summer, man, because I'm about to take this shit over. All right, I love you all, and I'll see you next week.